From the moment she arrived in the faraway state, people knew Madame Uku was not an ordinary woman. She appeared one quiet evening on the outskirts of the village, carrying only a small wooden box and a single traveling bag. No one saw her come down from a vehicle. No one saw her walking along the road earlier. One moment the dusty path was empty, and the next, she stood there tall, with a wide waist and a face that looked strangely peaceful. She asked for a place to rent and introduced herself with a firm, confident voice. "My name is Mada Uku." She never explained where the name came from, and no one had the courage to ask. Within a week, she opened a small palm wine and bushmeat joint beside the tall Iroko tree at the edge of the market. It was a simple place, wooden benches, clay cups, lanterns that gave off soft orange light. But from the day she started, people felt an unusual pull toward her shop, as if something in the air around the building urged them to enter. Her food tasted better than anyone could understand. Her palm wine was smooth, gentle, and strangely calming. Many said one cup felt like a warm hand resting on their chest, easing stress and erasing tiredness. Whoever drank it always returned, and whoever returned kept coming back, as if drawn by an invisible force. Every morning, before unlocking her shop, Madame Uku entered a small private room at the back. She stayed inside for several minutes. No one knew what she did there. The door stayed locked, and she never allowed anyone near it. What people did not know, what no one would ever suspect, was that before she opened her business each day, she expressed breast milk into a small clay bowl and stirred it into her morning mixture. She did it carefully, quietly, and with a calmness that seemed almost ritualistic. The mixture was the true secret behind her irresistible palm wine. But the secret went far deeper than that. Years ago, Madame Uku had died in a car accident. Her body was pulled from the wreck, lifeless, cold, gone. But something happened at the scene that no living person witnessed. When the rescuers left to get help, something else rose from the wreckage. Something that looked like her, walked like her, and carried her memories, yet was not entirely human anymore. That was the one who traveled to the faraway state. That was the one who opened the palm wine joint. That was the one villagers called Madame Uku. For months, the townspeople welcomed her. She treated everyone kindly, listened to their stories, and laughed when they greeted her with admiration. Madame Uku, the one and only. And she would smile softly and say, "Yes, that is me." Despite the warmth she showed others, something about her never felt entirely right. She moved too quietly. Her eyes seemed too deep, as if they held an entire night sky inside them. And more unsettling than anything, no matter how bright the sun burned overhead, she cast no shadow. Some people claim they noticed this early on, but each time they tried to convince others, they found themselves forgetting what they wanted to say, as if the thought simply slipped out of their mind. It was only later, much later, that they understood why. Everything changed the day. Two women followed her into the back area, hoping to ask for meat to buy before the shop opened. They heard a faint sound from inside the locked room and believed she needed help. But when they pushed the door ajar, they froze. Madame Uku stood with her back to them, expression calm, pouring milk from her breast into the clay bowl. She stirred it gently into a larger pot with slow, deliberate movements, her daily ritual before serving customers. The women gasped, but before they could speak, she turned and looked at them with eyes that did not blink. Something about her stare made their legs weaken instantly. They collapsed to the floor, unconscious. When villagers found the women later, the room was empty. The clay bowl was gone, the pot was gone, and Madame Uku herself had disappeared. She did not run, she did not shout, she did not argue. She simply vanished. From that day forward, the village changed. Children stopped playing near the joint. Merchants walked quickly past the building. Even the elders stepped back whenever her name was mentioned. And slowly, with a cold clarity that settled like mist across the village, people began to remember the things they tried so hard to ignore. The reality that her feet left no shadow. The nights they heard footsteps yet saw no one. The mornings she appeared without anyone seeing her arrive. The way the air changed whenever she walked past. People who once loved her now whispered in trembling voices, afraid of speaking too loudly. But while the village tried to forget her, Madame Uku appeared in another city many miles away. She did not walk in publicly. She simply showed up, just as she did the first time. One moment the street was empty. The next moment, she was standing there, carrying the same wooden box and the same small bag. Her face looked calm, her presence gentle, and her steps soft on the ground that refused to cast her shadow. In this new city, she blended in even more easily. She found a room to rent and met a young man named Daniel, a quiet, hard-working man with a peaceful nature. He was drawn to her instantly. Her calm voice, her soft smile, the way she listened with full attention, everything about her felt comforting. He believed he had found someone rare. It didn't take long for them to begin living together. Daniel never noticed anything unusual about her. Whenever he woke up, she was already awake. Whenever he tried to follow her early in the morning, she gently told him to rest. He loved her deeply, and in return, she treated him with a softness that made him trust her with every part of his life. When she opened a restaurant in their new neighborhood, it became popular quickly. Her dishes carried the same irresistible taste she was known for in the previous village, though no one here knew her past. Customers felt drawn to her food, to her presence, to the calm aura she carried. The restaurant grew busy every day, and Daniel was proud. But each time he brought up marriage, she avoided the discussion. "Let us wait a little longer," she would say softly. Or, "When the time is right, I will tell you everything." Or, "Please do not rush me." Whenever he asked about visiting her family, she simply shook her head with a distant sadness in her eyes. "There are things you do not understand yet," she whispered, but she never explained more than that. Daniel believed it was pain from her past. He never imagined it was because the people she once belonged to had already buried her. One afternoon, Daniel went to the market to buy vegetables for dinner. As he walked toward the stalls, he heard someone call his name. He turned and saw Samuel, an old friend he had not seen in years. They embraced, laughed, and began catching up. Samuel was from the faraway state, the same state where Madame Uche had first appeared, the same state where she had vanished in terror and confusion. After a long conversation, Samuel offered his new phone number. Daniel handed him his phone so he could type it in. But as Samuel held the phone, his eyes widened. His fingers froze above the screen. The wallpaper on Daniel's phone was a photo of Madame Uche smiling, chubby, tall, with her wide waist and her calm expression. Samuel's face drained of color. He stared at the picture without blinking. Who is this woman?" he asked quietly, his voice trembling slightly. Daniel laughed. "That's my girlfriend, my future wife, hopefully." "Why? You look like you've seen a ghost." Samuel swallowed hard. His voice shook as he spoke again. "A ghost is exactly what I've seen." Daniel frowned. "What are you talking about?" "Daniel," Samuel whispered, glancing around as if afraid someone might hear. "This woman disappeared from our village months ago. She vanished, literally vanished after people found out she had no shadow. She is not human. We all saw it. 2 women fainted when they discovered what she was doing every morning. She disappeared right before our eyes. We searched for her for days, but she was gone." End quote. Daniel's expression hardened. "That's not possible," he said firmly. "You must be confusing her with someone else. She lives with me. Right now, she is at home cooking. She's not dead." Samuel shook his head slowly, fear shining in his eyes. Daniel felt anger rising. "Stop this nonsense. This woman is alive. She sleeps beside me. She talks to me. She laughs with me. If you want, I will take you to my house right now so you can see for yourself." Samuel hesitated, but he finally agreed. They walked quickly to Daniel's house, both silent, both tense, one filled with disbelief, the other filled with fear. When they reached the house, Daniel unlocked the door with confidence. But the moment they stepped inside, his confidence shattered. The living room was empty. The blanket she used was gone. Her clothes were gone. Her sandals were gone. Every trace of her presence had vanished as if she never lived there at all. Daniel called her name again and again, his voice rising each time, but nothing answered. The silence in the room felt heavy, almost unnatural. Samuel stood quietly, a deep sadness on his face. "Daniel," he whispered. "She knew we were coming." Daniel's phone vibrated suddenly. He looked at the screen. It was the wallpaper, the picture of Madame Uche fading slowly, as if the image was dissolving into the background. Within seconds, the wallpaper became completely blank. Samuel stepped back in fear. Daniel stared at his phone with shaking hands, unable to breathe. Madame Uche had disappeared again, just as she always did, leaving behind no shadow. No footprints, no memory strong enough to hold her form. Only emptiness.